What is going on, everybody? Coach Mylan here. I was having a conversation with a client, and I was looking at their training log, and we were discussing fighting through plateaus and how we should really go about doing that relative to their graph. Okay, and by their graph, what I mean is one, line here is the number of reps, while as the other line is going to represent the amount of weight that you moved. Now, it really doesn't matter where you put either or, right? But ideally on your graph, you want, things to go like this with data points throughout, time, and then you want to prevent your graph from doing this, which is a plateau. So if you ever start to notice that you're plateauing, or if your rate of progress really isn't the best, right? So like it's something like this, okay, whereas you want it to keep on going up. Let's say you're doing a lift and you're doing 200 pounds and you're performing that lift for sets of 5 repetitions. We're not going to use units here, so bear with the simple math. That is a total of 1,000 pounds moved over the duration of one set. What does this have to do with how I'm going to structure my sets in my training? Well, let's keep it simple. Now, in order for the aforementioned graph to go up, right, this way, okay, which is what we want, we're going to have to hit a PR in either the amount of weight that we moved or the repetitions. When we PR relative to the repetitions, as the weight gets heavier and heavier, right, you will see that the jump in the total goes up. Our 200-pound jump here, that's a fair amount of weight, right? Especially if you're doing something like a back squat and you're doing, 400 pounds or something. That's even more weight just to add on one pesky repetition. Now, let's say you show up to the gym, though, and you keep trying to PR in terms of reps, and you're going for that 7th rep. In order to get that 7th rep, just a total on one set, again, you need to lift 200 pounds for one extra repetition. You might not be able to hit that, right? You may show up to the gym and consistently hit 6 reps, 6 reps. 6 reps again and again and again, which is kind of maddening. And if you're only moving the 1,200 pounds, you're not really improving all that much on paper. So to solve this issue, rather than trying to PR all the time in terms of reps, simply try to go up in weight. Rather than going for 6 reps here, we're just going to go for 5 reps across. The following workout, we're going to hit 205 for 5. Okay, that's going to give us for that set, right, a 25-pound PR. The following workout, we're just going to simply do it again. So go to 10 for 5, right? That's going to give us, 1050, so on and so forth. Because the jumps aren't as much, you're able to make little small improvements and really inch towards your overall goal at a much more appropriate rate rather than miss lifts. Now notice, right, how many workouts it would take to get up to the 1,400 pound total versus how many workouts, okay, it's going to take you to get up to that same total by just going up in terms of weight. Right, so one is obviously much more sustainable and will keep you PRing, whereas this other one, especially when you're moving heavier weight, it's just not as sustainable and it's going to have you missing lifts, right? So make sure you guys are pushing the amount of weight that you can use. All that matters is that your graph, okay, generally looks like this, especially when you first start out, right? What you really don't want to see as much of are little plateaus like this, right? And so what was happening here was this person just simply wasn't going up in weight enough, right? And that was kind of putting a wrench in their rate of progress. Okay, so even what we were looking at before should have been even steeper. What about isolation work? That's a really good question. We were using much bigger weights in our other example. However, if we go into isolation work, right, let's say we're doing 20 pounds for sets of 10 repetitions, our total in that case would be 200 pounds. Let's go ahead and do the example of us adding weight. So let's go up to 25 pounds, and then we're going to do the exact same amount of reps. That would give us a total of 250. Whereas here, if we actually add on reps, we could actually add on a 11th or even a 12th rep and still not get the same sort of a stimulus. Typically, as the number of reps that you can perform get higher and higher, right? Adding on one more rep is going to be a lot easier. In this example, okay, what I would do is still prioritize the strength adaptation, right? And then let's say if you show up in your next session and you go to, do 30 reps and you can only hit, 8 or 9, that is 270, right? That is still a relative PR. If you show up to the following session and you do 35, let's say you can only hit 6. You see here that now we have gone down, okay? And so one thing you might want to do is do a regression, right? And then try to rep it out to beat this old PR, okay? Or you could treat 35 pounds as a sticking point and simply try to PR relative to the reps. Or you could add weight and then try to hit 6 reps again, okay? But you got many different options, but you need to be very thoughtful about what you're selecting and why, because what matters is not just the stimulus that you can get, so it's not just this total, right? It's not that total number right there, but it's also what you can do and then recover from prior to the next workout. You're really going to have to understand, based on rep continuums, that if this is the strength side here to the left, with the minimum reps you can do being 1, right? And then over here, okay, this is, the endurance side, which this can technically over here go on, to infinity. That is a terrible infinity sign, but you get the point. If I take your back squat from, let's say you're moving 100 pounds, right? And then you get up to 400 pounds. If you were to put 100 pounds back on the bar and then rep it out, right, you would think you would get way more repetitions of that 100 pounds if your max is 400. This is something that, people don't quite understand, and so they end up prematurely trying to push getting more and more repetitions of this 100 pounds, but unless you're, increasing this number overall so you get that strength adaptation, you're not going to be able to maximize the number of reps that you can do. If I can lift 400 pounds, then to lift 100 pounds for reps, I only have to use, 25%, which means I can repeat that rep over time. Whereas if 100 pounds is my max, to then do that, I have to use 100% of my capacity.